Imagine the year is 2008. The Mega Man brand has been successful, continuing over the last decade with Mega Man X, the rise and conclusion of both the Mega Man Battle Network and Mega Man Zero series, and even the new Mega Man Star Force and Mega Man ZX series. But it has been a decade since we last saw the little blue robot that started it all in a new game. But the last two games weren't received as well as the previous 6. So what do we do about that? Well, let's look at what worked. Hey, Mega Man 2 was super popular, so let's just copy that. That was probably the pitch for Mega Man 9, but even if they did just set out to copy Mega Man 2, they created something truly wonderful. It's what I personally believe to be the best game in the series. I do flip-flop back and forth on it or Power It Up being my favorite, but it is a really solid game. I'm going to try to keep my biases with it being that high up my list of favorites as minimal as I can, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is my opinion, and opinion is nothing but bias. So, first up, we have Concrete Man. Now, Concrete Man almost always begins the fight shooting 3 blobs of concrete shot at you, which don't damage you if they hit you. They just freeze you in place, and you can wiggle the controller and break free. However, you're very unlikely to actually break free before he shoulder tackles across the screen into the wall and through you. The other attack he has is to jump up in the air and stomp down on the ground, which will stun you if you're on the ground. And that's pretty much what his attacks are. He's a simple man at heart. But that opening attack in particular is a doozy. And it is possible for him to do something else at the start, but it is, in my experience, exceedingly rare. And I played Mega Man 9 quite a few number of times, so I've seen a lot of iterations of the Concrete Man fight. And I think maybe once I've seen him do something besides shoot 3 blobs of concrete shot at the start. So, when you first come into the door and he shoots those 3 blobs at you, they're in a formation that is very nearly, but not quite, impossible to avoid getting hit by. However, thankfully, his weakness, the laser trident, does actually destroy these blobs, so that's kind of your saving grace here if you have it equipped when you walk into the fight. The laser trident deals 3 damage to Concrete Man, and it's a good weapon. It travels fast, it goes through him, which doesn't really matter too much when you only got one target here, but it will. One shot can hit multiple concrete blobs, so I guess that is where it does come into play, that it travels through things. It fires very fast, deals 3 damage, and it has a ton of ammo. Laser Trident is Mega Man 9's Metal Blade, for lack of a better term. But yeah, that's pretty much the fight in a nutshell, and yeah, I've never really stopped to think what I think of this fight, just besides that opening attack and how hard it is to not be hit by it. But you know, for a big guy whose main gimmick is to freeze you in place and then slam into you one way or the other, you know, he's got 2 different ways to do both of those things, and he does them pretty well. I mean, it's interesting, you know. I think I could probably let him hang with not Gutsman, Stone Man. Gutsman's down here in the D tier. Yeah, he's probably better than the Stone Man fight, I think. Next up we have Galaxy Man. Now, I know a lot of people that started with Galaxy Man because Mega Man 9 is not the easiest Mega Man game. It's one of the harder ones. And personally, Galaxy Man was the very first Robot Master I was actually able to make it to, let alone defeat. But he is a good choice for a beginner because as far as Robot Masters go, his attacks are very non-threatening. He'll spend a lot of the fight off-screen, actually, and at the top of the screen. So it is a kind of drawn-out fight to Buster. Luckily, his weakness, the concrete shot, does a whopping 4 damage to him. So, if you have his weakness, it goes by fairly quick. Still probably the slowest of all the Robot Masters in this game to defeat. So the basic gist is he'll fly around at the top of the screen left and right before creating a black hole bomb near you that will try and suck you in, and he'll reappear standing right underneath it, not doing anything else, just trying to create contact damage with you. It's easy to just walk away from the bomb and not be hit by it. You can even take a quick second to turn around and get a pot shot off on him while you are being dragged towards it. Eventually, he will give up on that and he will fly to one of the edges of the screen along the bottom at a very off-putting angle, for lack of a better descriptor. And then he will jump back up to the sky and create his black hole bomb anew, and that's basically the rotation for this fight. The only other thing he can do is when he's at the top of the screen, instead of shooting a black hole bomb towards you, he can just move left and right a little bit before he decides to suddenly drop down to the floor in another attempt to create contact damage with you. So like I said, he's not a very threatening Robot Master, and he is quite slow, which it can be sped up. You can actually destroy his black hole bomb, which speeds up that whole part of the fight, with a concrete shot, which it'll hang in place for a second before it disappears, but it'll stop pulling you in. But yeah, non-threatening fight, kind of slow. It's not bad. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it in the C tier. I wouldn't say it has problems. It's a good introductory fight for the game. I almost want to just say this is probably as baseline as it can really get for a Robot Master. Like, if I had something that was just perfectly in the middle between B and C, that's where I would put him. So we'll stick him at the bottom of the B tier. Next up we have Hornet Man, and he is very much a one-trick pony. The only way he can actually attack is to, on one side of the screen, either the left or the right, he'll jump up about midway through the screen and he will launch 3 hornets from his hive chest cavity. And they will hang in the air for a second, and all at the same time, they will move towards wherever you're standing at set intervals, I think 3 or 4 times. And after he summons them, he'll drop to the ground, walk to the other side of the screen, jump up on the uneven ledge in the middle, and repeat the process all over again when he gets to the left, the opposite side of the screen. That's the fight. And his weakness is the Magma Bazooka, which can be charged up. Uncharged up, it'll do 2 damage to Hornet Man. Charged up, it'll do 4. But the really unique thing that makes this so perfectly crafted a weakness for Hornet Man is the formation it shoots in. It is perfect for hitting all 3 of his hornets as soon as he summons them out with one shot. and it does extremely trivialize the fight. It is a much more difficult fight if you don't have the weakness, because you're going to be dodging the Hornets, but, I mean, they're not really that hard to dodge. Where would I put him? Feeling B tier, but let me think about this for a second. Yeah, you know what? He gets to hang out with Bomb Man in the B tier. And I really didn't think about it until after I already put him there, but yeah, I wasn't trying to make a pun putting Hornet Man in the B tier. But, you know, if it works, it works. Next up we have Jewel Man. My goodness, I did not realize just how many of these robot masters in this game are just incredibly simple in their AI. I just accused Hornet Man of doing only one thing, but Jewel Man really does only one thing. He walks left and right, and he jumps when you fire. Other than that, sometimes he'll pull out his Jewel satellite. That's it. So what you want to do is you want to force him to jump over you when he's about to collide with you and hit him with the black hole bomb, which is his weakness. It deals 5 damage to him, and it does eat up his Jewel satellite shield. You can usually get 2 hits on him if you time it so that he runs into it, jumps over you, hits the wall, and runs back through it again. You can also pause to bring up the menu to make the black hole go away and have it ready to be used immediately again. So you could probably get 1 hit as he's heading towards the other side of the screen, pause, and then set him up for another 2 hits when he gets to the wall. And he goes down really fast because of that. He's a simple fight. He's much more difficult when you don't have his weakness. Like, this weakness trivializes him so hard. I do need to catch myself here. I just realized I said he jumps when you fire. I meant he jumps when you jump. So you can make a little short hops to bait his jump. Despite having easily the strongest barrier weapon in the game, or in the series, not the game, the series, even a contender for the strongest weapon in the series, it goes down easily to the black hole bomb. So Jewel Man, I think I am comfortable saying he also belongs in the B tier. This is getting a little bit awkward. Next up we have Magma Man, and we have, yet again, a robot master that really only does one thing. Well, I guess this guy does 2 things. He jumps and shoots. One might even say he's a jump and shoot man. So, the thing about Magma Man is his arena is symmetrical and made up of 2 staircases that go downward and meet at the bottom in the middle. And he just hops around. He does slow, big jumps, and he will occasionally fire his magma bazooka at you. Whether it is the charged version or the uncharged version of the shot, though, depends on whether the flames on his head are lit. And I believe the only way to put them out is to hit him with his weakness, Tornado Blow, which deals 6 damage, which is more than any other Robot Master's weakness deals. However, it is possible to defeat Magma Man with a full bar tornado blow. But if it's not random, I sure as heck don't know how to get him to be hit twice by a single attack. Because that's what it takes. Otherwise, you will always come up one attack short and have to finish him off with the Mega Buster. I have had it happen, so I know it is a thing that can happen, where he gets hit twice by one tornado blow. But you know, I think they might have missed the mark with the weakness there. I think the issue really lies in that the tornado blow uses up way more energy than it should. I guess because it's a screen nuke. Screen nukes always use up a ton of energy because they don't want you to just go around spamming screen nukes in the game, which is understandable. But I feel like maybe they could have tweaked the energy to use... What did it take? One less pip of energy per use to be able to use it one more time? I think that would have been alright. Unfortunately, this is going to make Magma Man drop down to the C tier. I mean, Cold Man's down there for the same reason, so... But yeah, that's all he does. He hops around, he shoots the bazooka, and if his flame is out, sometimes he may stop to recharge his flame. For that, it's just kind of a baseline fight, but the lack of a weakness that you can actually defeat him with a full bar consistently is gonna keep him from being in the B tier. Next up we have Plug Man. Now he has a symmetrical stage similar to Magma Man, but instead of a staircase in the middle, he has two little pyramid formations. And all he really does is he does very short hops around the stage over these formations towards you, occasionally shooting out two plug balls at you. And these plug balls will run along the ground. If they don't hit you and you jump over them, they'll go up the wall, and then once they reach your location on the x-axis, they will then try to fall down on top of you. However, his weakness is the Jewel Satellite, which is an extremely good weapon, and it works well for Plug Man because it does actually deflect his plug balls. If you keep Jewel Satellite up, the only way he can hurt you is with contact damage, so at best he can trade hits with you, which he's gonna lose that battle every time because he takes he takes 4 damage from the Jewel Satellite. It's a pretty simple fight, no real problems, and yeah. I don't know how many times I could say that. Yeah, Plug Man goes in the B tier. Next up we have the first and only enemy robot master that is a woman in the entire series. I had to catch myself and not say the first female robot master, because technically Roll is a robot master. I think her serial number is RM002 or something like that. But Splash Woman is a mermaid robot. Her stage is underwater. She actually does a little more than one thing, so that's good. She'll start out the fight in the normal location that Robot Masters start in. She'll sing as she zigzags back and forth up the screen. And as she goes up the screen, 3 fish that can be destroyed with one hit from pretty much anything will swim across the screen along the x-axis. And then as she gets a little bit higher, 3 more will come from the opposite direction. And then when she reaches the top, 3 more will come from the first direction that they came from. And then once she's at the top of the screen, she'll be effectively out of your reach unless you have a weapon that can fire upward, while she goes back and forth, aiming her trident down at you, shooting laser tridents. She shoots about 6 of them before she slams down into the ground with her trident and begins her pattern anew. It's a good fight. It's fun to bust her, which is good because that's her secondary weakness, the Mega Buster itself, dealing 2 damage to her. The only Robot Master that takes additional damage from the Mega Buster. And her weakness is the Hornet Chaser, which deals 4 damage to her. And it's a good weakness. It can get tripped up on the fish, but it's pretty good about locking onto her. It's more about when you fire it and less about what gets in its path. I think a fish can hit it and it still won't disappear until it hits her. It can hit her at the top of the screen. It's good to use when you're dodging her laser tridents because you can focus on that because it homes in. It's the perfect weapon to use against Splash Woman. This is a good fight. Splash Woman is definitely an A tier. Not quite enough to get into the S tier, but definitely in the A tier. And our last Robot Master for this game is Tornado Man. Now, Tornado Man, he will turn his legs into a tornado, which allows him to fly, basically. And he'll do this to jump up and then try to land on you. And then from there, he will either jump up again, or from the ground, he'll go into his next attack. Whether he jumps or stays on the ground, his next attack is to use a tornado blow, which will lower the gravity enough that if you're not careful, you could jump up into the spikes at the top. Although I can't say that's something I have ever done, not even accidentally. And you also have to dodge the actual tornadoes that show up on the screen. They are spaced out pretty well, so it's not quite as bad as Airman. They also move vertically, so you have a ton of room to actually maneuver between them. Though, if you're hyper-offensive, sometimes you might be in a situation where the only way to not get hit is to back off. His weakness is the Plug Ball, which is both a great weakness and a terrible weakness for him. He does often stay on the floor and also choose to fly up so close to the ceiling that a Plug Ball will hit him whether it travels along the floor or travels up a wall and along the ceiling. But he can also just pick a spot in the middle of the screen where the only way to hit him with a Plug Ball is to get very close to him and jump up above him and shoot them downward at him, as Plug Balls do fall straight downward if you shoot them in the air. The Plug Balls do deal 3 damage to him, which is fairly standard. It is on the lower end of weakness damage for Robot Masters, but it gets the job done quickly enough, considering it can be fired pretty rapidly, and Tornado Man doesn't really have much in the way of iframes. It's a decent fight. I think I can put him above the B tier at least. The B tier prison that most of the rest of the cast is in. Not quite as high as Splash Woman. Probably... You could probably hang out with Time Man and Fireman. Well, we got through this list pretty quickly. Yeah, a lot of these Robot Masters were a lot more simple than I really realized. But simplicity does not mean bad, and I think Mega Man 9 exemplifies this pretty well, with every single one of these Robot Masters falling in an above average tier except for one who's at the top of the below average tier. I'm just saying, they might not have done anything truly exceptional with these Robot Masters, but they were consistently good with them.